Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
All right, announcements. The public participation policy applies to all selectmen's meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda posted in this meeting room and on our website. I kind of went backwards there. Missed the agenda approval. Anybody got anything they'd like to add to the agenda?
Also,
All right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
make a motion to approve the agenda for January 13th as submitted.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, seeing nobody here in the public, we'll pass public input. No appointments, no new business, so on to old business. Capital reserve funds.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if you don't mind, we'll combine this discussion in with the budget discussion because it all revolves around the same thing. But in your binders, you see a current list of the printout. This is what the totals are of all the capital reserves that we'll be discussing as we go through the warrant articles and also the budget discussion that we'll be having. So if you'll notice down at the bottom of the bank balances down of the revolving accounts, that's where you'll see the discussion that we'll be having in a little bit about the ambulance revolving account is listed underneath there. And the current bank balance is the 917,866.60. But the available balance and what that represents is the 156,543 is earmarked to come out for this year's expenses. So Laura had made sure that she broke that out to show that the actual available balance would be the 761 323.48.
That's what's available in the revolving account for the ambulance.
Yes,
Didn't we just took a big expenditure out of there, didn't we, for the overtime or whatever?
we have not taken it out yet.
But
That's
it's-
that's a discussion.
One 56.
No, the 156 is what is currently earmarked, because each year when they set the budget for the ambulance budget,
Yeah.
it's set as basically the estimated expenses to
Okay.
operate the ambulance, but it comes out of the revolving account
Right.
at the end. So that transfer hasn't taken place yet, but
Yeah, I got you.
that amount is what's earmarked
I got you.
to be taken out of there. So jump forward to the budget discussion, some of the question or some of the numbers that the board had asked me for last time we had met. So currently after all the expenditures and payroll was merged today, the total operating budget still has 3.63% in it, coming out to about 315,738.49. So that represents, there are a few residual weeks of bills and invoices that will come in before we close out totally. But that represents all the payroll that's already taken out, all of the AP for this week through December and everything else. So
Can I have that on again, please?
sure.
315, 738.
What's the estimated you think they'll be drawn out in the next 2 weeks?
I would say right now, talking to the department heads, nobody has any large expenses that are due to come out. So I would say probably max maybe 20,000.
So at the end of the month, you'll know at the next meeting then. Should have a
Yeah,
better
towards
idea.
the end of the month, because I believe we usually close out sometime around the 13th
Yes.
of the month.
Yep.
I will know exactly, but we should be right in that $300,000 ballpark range. So, and currently for the unassigned fund balance. So the unassigned fund balance currently has $3,382,814 in it.
3,000,000 what?
382,
Okay.
814. And what that represents is that's the unassigned fund balance with all of this year's warrant articles already taken out. So you know how that last year we had warrant articles that were funded through the fund balance, those have already been drawn out. So that's our balance after that money has been taken out. In relationship to DRA recommendations, their high recommendation is 17%. And for us, that comes out to about 4.7 million. That's the high end. Not recommended to be, or it's actually, you're not allowed to go to exceed 20, I believe it's 20% is where that max falls. They won't allow you to. And then the next level is 10%, which would be 2.7 mil. So we are currently right smack dab in the middle between 10 and 17%, which is a healthy position to be in. So after bills and payroll for the last week with the fire department and talking about their remaining balance. So they are over with their overtime shift coverage, $66,854 and 28 cents to be exact.
Now that number there, that's what we kind of talked about, that it can be paid out of the revolving fund, right?
Yeah, anything the board at that point decides to, as far as the hell, yeah, because that's
Mostly ambulance calls, I would.
the majority of it's ambulance
Yeah.
calls. We've only had a few fires this year. So it's definitely, that fund was definitely created
Cover this.
to cover this and part of this. And I believe that the only reason it was sort of pulled out of that process is the fund wasn't healthy at the time. And it had fallen down with some of the wages that were being drawn out and funded out. So it became funded out of the regular operating budget. But that money, that fund has been growing and doing well since then. Not that we should revert completely back to it, but
Right.
in a situation like this, there's no reason why we couldn't,
Take some of it.
yeah, to offset the overtures for this year.
Well, we could offset it all with.
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
Is that a good idea though?
Yeah, for this situation, like I said, I think in my opinion, looking at it, I think it would, if we reverted back to paying everything all the time out of it, I don't think the
Right. I got
fund
you.
would
But
be
just the
healthy
one,
enough. But given these circumstances and the fact that we're trying to maintain that shift coverage and they're trying to do that, and the call volumes have spiked well over 1,000 calls. And he said the rough percentage was in the high 80 percentile as far as ambulance calls versus fire calls. So
They increase.
So am I understanding right? You want to use part of the revolving fund to offset some of that time? It's the way I understand the conversation right now.
yes,
But 2 weeks ago, we'd also talked about it. We thought we could absorb it within the regular operating budget, correct?
and we can.
Yeah.
That's why.
And the only reason I'm saying is, according to your list,
Mhm.
the 156 that's coming out, is that stuff that's already been expended, that needs to be expended before this? Is that correct? Or is this as part of it?
No, this 156, it does not represent any more, any of this overage.
Okay,
Those are just expenses alone that have to be taken out. So the available balance after that, which would be what we would be assessing if we took the 66,000 overage, would come off of that 761
760.
available.
So I guess the only thing I would be raised concern with, I know the chief had said, and I talked to him in the hallway about in the upcoming years, we're going to have to replace. We bought 2 ambulances back to back just about. I think there was 1 year we ordered one, 2 years later, we ordered another one.
Yep.
Last time we did it was in the neighborhood, I believe, of about 500,000. And he was talking 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
close to 800,000.
yeah, they're way up
So
from that.
at 751, we don't have enough to replace an ambulance if we had to.
Absolutely.
And, that was one of the things of keeping it in there. We knew once we went to the budget by paying out, we'd have to. I would like to see us absorb it within,
I think we can
But
too.
so-
We don't
Oh,
have-
we can definitely do it. That's why I wanted to give you those numbers.
because I'd like to see that build another year. So at least the town would have enough money in to
I
cover
agree.
one ambulance
Exactly.
with a surplus to build on the second one.
Sure.
You know, because I think he's only talking about 8 years on a lifespan for the ambulances now, where we went 11 and 15 years the last time, which that was a little bit too long.
He was talking about it a little bit, but I don't know exactly where that discussion is going, but now they have these ambulances with fully aluminum bodies. So that you can actually get a longer life out of the body, which is usually a big expense of the whole thing. So they pull the body off of it and then just buy a new cab chassis. He had mentioned that might be a possibility too, but again, that's all in time, you know. But by all means, if that's a board's wishes, we can do it out of it. Absolutely. As far as the surplus that's in there.
I agree. I think that's the way to go. I mean, instead of jeopardizing that fund, like you said, when we do need an ambulance, at least we got the money to pay for
The
it.
only thing, and the reason I say it is I just hate to have to go to the townspeople or you folks would and say we need to raise $800,000 to buy a new ambulance because we don't have enough money in the revolving fund.
Right. Yep.
It's easy to justify the manpower for the fire department with the
Absolutely.
overtime on the ambulance runs and say we're still putting the money aside for new ambulances. Bigger expense.
Right.
I would think.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that's a better way to go.
Sure.
Yep.
You need
You need a
motion
vote on that?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just.
Because we're still staying
Yeah,
in
we're
the
staying
operating
within
budget.
Still within the budget, yeah.
Total budget.
Yeah, as long as the consensus, we'll just make note, the consensus of the
Yep.
board is to move forward with
Yep.
covering it out of the operating budget. Right. Sounds good.
So that means we gotta take another so many thousands off that revenue you had, right?
Out of the three.
Out of the 350. Out of the 315, 738, do we gotta take more out of that now?
That would take.
Oh, no, actually, that's
Already been paid.
that's already in there right
Right.
there. Yeah, so we still have 315 left.
After you
Okay.
take the 66 out for,
It's already out of there.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
we're already in there. So, yeah,
we're well
Okay, yeah.
on,
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Nope.
Just leave it the way it
just
is.
leave it the way it
Leave
is.
it the way it is.
All right. That all for
Yeah,
that.
that's all as far as the operating budget goes. Yeah.
All right, cemetery department burial fees. Evening, Mr. Kidman. Evening.
Good evening.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Good evening.
So I had, a few months ago, we had talked a little bit about this subject and I was asked to pull together the information we could find in our system relative to the current fees, which were revised back in 2014. They had been reviewed apparently at some point in 2019. There was no fee changes at that time, according to what the sexton was able to provide me. You can see in the memo, I've outlined what our current rates are for those different burial fees relative to full and cremation burials. And I have also provided some costing relative to what our work order costing program has said that it's been running for us to actually do the burials themselves. Once again, understanding there can be some tweaking here and there with some of this. We have actually been able to make some cost savings now that we've combined the departments relative to things such as backfill for graves, as far as sand. They had previously been buying that from a local contractor versus utilizing the contract that we had through highway. So we've been able to save some money there, not that we use hundreds of yards of sand there for backfilling, but that's just one of the small savings that way. And then, of course, I mean, the fees for the staff time generally is a higher part of this cost because we figured out everything from wages and benefits and everything that gets rolled into the entire cost itself. that way. In looking at, it's across the board. When you look at the New Hampshire Cemetery Association, different fees that are charged statewide, they start very high, and then they go very low. Depending on how the cemeteries are run, whether they're run privately, or whether they are run by a municipality or by a board of trustees. If they have hefty endowments within their different trusts that they actually have, sometimes their fees are relatively low because of that. So wanted to bring that out for you folks to look at for review, for consideration, whether or not you would like to adjust those fees. It may be time to make some incremental adjustments so that you take a little bit of the sting out of some of the cost that is there. And then also I did provide 2 templates relative to the burial, internment, prepayment, receipt and acknowledgement, whether or not you wish to hold prices and have people sign that, and we sign it, that will hold the price if in fact somebody does a prepayment until whenever that person is interred, or whether or not you wish to notify them that if there is a price increase, that they would have to pay any additional cost. So I just provided 2 different templates on whichever way the board wished to handle that way. I think that, I mentioned in here, it's a good thing to review them every 3 to 5 years. I like the latter. If in fact they're reviewed roughly every 3 years, and you get into that cycle, then if in fact you do a prepayment acknowledgement and just hold the price, I think that's personally myself, I think that's, this is just me speaking personally. I want to represent, I want to try to do what I can for the town to save their money and that way. But if you're going to review it every 3 years, I think that, that keeps us pretty current going forward, and everybody can be treated pretty fairly that way. So I'm going down the road.
I looked at your proposals, which they're great. I have no problem with what you're presenting, except for the prepayment. I feel if someone prepays for a family member or the individual, if I walk in being a single person, say I want to pay for everything now, gone to the funeral home, paid my thing there, gone to the town, bought my lot, and I want to pay for the burial now. If we have trustees of the trust funds that are overseeing the cemetery money, I believe as they do, and they're investing it right, that should be building upon, as long as we're not pulling so much out like they did years ago. Because at one time that fund, the cemetery trust fund just about went complete. That's why the selectmen have it now. I have no problem with your increases. I'd like to see a 2-year increase. First year, 300, the second year, another 300, bring it up to about where you want to be. Reviewing it every 3 to 5 years, I have no problem with that. The costs involved associated with it, especially what you got coming up. I myself would like to see the prepayment stay. If someone paid for it now at $1,000, $1,200, they paid for it up front. Hopefully that money gets invested. Hopefully it builds within that account, such as town hall, which I know it doesn't have as much money as the town hall fund had, but that's how we've gotten what we got done this year from it. Other than that, I really see no problem with it.
No.
No, I think it looks good.
Yeah, I don't think that if you prepay that down the road, like Ruben's saying, I don't think that you should have to, after your loved one or whatever's passed you and you've already prepaid it, that you got to worry about, geez, there's
The increase.
$1,000 gap in between that. We got to make up the difference. I think
And
you
any
have to
board of
deal with-
selectmen can change that at any time too.
Right.
It gets reviewed, but whoever's already prepaid should not have to incur the new ordinance or
Right.
rules.
Yeah.
No,
Like you're staying here, whoever's prepaid now, it should stay there for them.
Should stay.
But future prepayments.
Pay the future prepayments, pay the new one, but the ones that are already prepaid, stay where they're at.
Right, but now what I'm saying is if we voted tonight and we went to 1270.
Yeah.
For a burial, I went in to see the town administrator tomorrow or Kelly, whoever, and say, I want to pay for my burial now of $1,270. If I die 10 years from now, my family shouldn't have to come in and pay another $500-600 to bury me.
Right, that's
all
what
I'm
I'm
saying.
saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's already at the.
It's already at the-
the new
Right.
increased price.
Right. But if the price changes to say $2,000 in 10 years, they shouldn't be able to go back and ask for another $770.
Right.
I just feel because the family in good faith paid for it up front, gave the town that operating expense for the last 10 years.
Right.
And you also suggesting to increase, not all at once,
Well,
but $300?
Well, instead
in 2
of
years.
doing to say 1,270 from 600, instead of doing 100% increase, do it over the next 2 years. Let's do 300 this year, December 31st next year, January 1st, it goes to another 300. That puts them up at
Yeah.
1,270 for the second year. The third year, you're going to review the cost.
You're gonna redo it again anyway. You're
Right.
gonna look at it.
I
again.
think that's the way to go. I agree with that.
I mean,
The way you're steadily increasing it instead of
And-
hitting it all at
and
once.
you're going to hear from me all night. Everyone's facing high costs right now. with
Yeah.
Everything.
Mhm.
And to hit it all at one time at 100%, the family comes in, say next week, we've already changed the price. And I don't know if we have to have a public hearing on this or not. The town administrator have to answer that one for me, where we're increasing those fees in the cemetery. I don't know.
I think where that comes down to it is this, the way you're looking at it right now is a policy change, which I don't think it needs a public hearing, but is this part of I'm not aware of this being part of any of our ordinances.
Okay.
Ordinances would
Yeah.
require public
Okay,
hearing.
I just wanted to make
But if it's
sure.
Policy change, then the board would
Okay.
have that purview to go ahead and do that.
And that's how I feel
Yeah.
on it. And
No, I
depends on
think
the
it's a very fair way of certainly doing it. I like being able to stay up with the times as much as you can and not have to do big catch-ups.
Right.
So I think by doing it, like Selectman Wentworth has proposed, and then you're gonna have that third year review, we'll just automatically plug it into the calendar that we know that, that year we're gonna be reviewing it again. If we'll do another cost analysis for the board. You folks are the trustees and have you look at it and you may say, well, I think we're good for,
2 more.
and 3 more, or we're gonna look at a
Right.
potential percentage incrementally going forward, or however it is. So I think that's good. I just want to make sure we were up, let the board know and keep them.
Yeah,
informed.
smaller steps,
Small.
take some of the sting out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within 3 years would be up to the amount that you're looking for. And it wouldn't be an all at once increase.
Yeah,
That's good.
the big thing is trying to cover as much of our cost for actually doing the internments. I mean, we do our regular maintenance at the
Mhm.
cemeteries, utilizing the staff and, for other times as well. And not constantly burying people, fortunately, in that situation there, so.
Do
that's a-
we have a number of how many people have already prepaid and it's had a prepay for a long period of time
You
that
know what?
wouldn't have
I
reflection? of
don't, I
the-
just happened to think of that while we were sitting here, but I can ask Emily to take a look at that. I believe she would probably have those records according to Jim, and talking with him. So I
Let's
can,
hope.
yeah, I can have her, they've got pretty good records. I
Good
was
records, yeah.
pretty impressed actually that there's a folder for each one of those and that they have the information in
Sure.
there. The only thing that they were kind of lacking was actually having this acknowledgement form, which just makes it easier for somebody stepping into any of those roles to say, okay, yep, and this is what the policy is, and this is what the board has decided, and everybody signed off on it. So that'll be great.
We're all set with the increase in the cremation burial.
Yeah, so you can see what we're doing on
And
the cost in there. I mean, once again, I think if, however you want to make that incremental change for that. Cremations, of course, are our lowest cost one, and they are right now, it seems to be one of the more popular ones, of course. But there are still some traditional full burials. So I mean, right now, that's what our costs have been hitting us that way. So I think if you're within that, making that one either up to that number or a number in or around that one would work very well. So however the board wants to do their motion to include that. The columbarium figure there, that has just been, we haven't had a lot of those. There's been a few. Generally, they're a very small service that's there, so it doesn't consume a lot of time from the staff to be involved in that. It's actually a pretty efficient system there. So in fact, folks end up, taking advantage of that in the future based upon cremations. That'll help them out as well.
All right. You want to make that motion, Ruben?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to increase to revise the current 2014 review 2019 fees to increase the full burial weekday $300 to $900 for the year 2023. Full burial weekend by $400. Cremation burial weekday of $445. And weekend burial, 2023 to 617. And in 2024, to increase the burial weekdays by $300. Full burial weekend by $400. The cremation burial on weekdays and weekends will remain at the 2023. And also that prepayments should be held as prepayments as done and no increases going forward. I think that's what you're looking for there, Mr. Minister.
Yes. The only one I didn't.
And to
hear-
be reviewed every 3 years.
The only one I didn't hear in there is the columbarium. Did you want to?
That's at 200.
That's the 200.
That's at 200.
That's the
That's staying there. So leave it at
So we'll
200.
leave it at 200. Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right. I just want to clarify that.
I'll second.
Yeah. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I hopefully I did say in that motion that it said the first of the 2023 and 2024, January
I
1st.
think you did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Great.
We'll get that changed. Kelly had actually part of her role. She's had assisted us, of course, in that whole transition during 2022, and she did a lot of Q&A, question and answer type situations for the website to update that. We just finished reviewing that last couple of weeks, and they'll actually be we'll make these adjustments, so that'll all be put into the website as well. So she's actually wrapped up her portion, which I thank her an awful lot, and she's agreed to help us out, best she can. But of course, we'll have Emily still assisting us that way as part of her role with some of the administrative tasks going forward on that. So
Very good.
appreciated Kelly's assistance there and doing that. We'll get that updated with Josh on the website with the new fees.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
All right.
Moving on to warrant
Warrant
articles.
articles.
Alrighty. So gentlemen, on the table, there was a new printout of the 23 proposed warrant articles. What you'll see is the planning board has approved their articles, and those have now been added to the draft that you originally had been given. A couple other changes were the way that we had originally represented the tax impact. We clarified that wording. Originally, it was put as, say, $4/1,000. Instead, we've written out that the estimated tax impact, because it is an estimate. So it was recommended, we had actually queried some of the listservs to find out what other towns were doing, and this was the most common language that the other towns were using to try to explain that as best as possible without giving a big dissertation every warrant article. So those were, and then we made a few grammatical changes or typos And then the only other significant changes that we'll go over tonight is there was two additions. One was article number 16, local radio communications. That was the result of our lost communications during the flood and emergency because of losing all of our local repeater capabilities to communicate with one another. And then also the addition of another $50,000 to the town hall building reserve, bringing it to a total of 90,000. The reason for that is during that storm as well, every window on the left side of the building leaked through the sills and around the edges. So
All through windows.
yeah, so we need to address it more there, and I can speak to that a little bit further, but wanted to highlight those changes for you. Those are the only ones basically from the original drafts. So the content of everything that you were looking at from before should be the bulk of it all the same. But we'll go down through them. If the board is comfortable, hopefully we can vote on each one and move on from there. And I can try to get these to the budget committee. So the planning boards are ones will move right on to Article 8 to the town operating budget. Basically, this is the approved operating budget for 23, 9,252,980. And the approved default budget, should it not pass, would be $8,854,314.
Is that with the changes that were put in here? Oh, this is, never mind, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm getting off track here.
Okay.
Sorry. Yep.
So these are the approved numbers from both the Board of Selectmen from the original budget presentations and default. And the same with they were also approved at the budget committee level as well.
You want to vote on these as we go through?
If you feel comfortable on it, yeah, absolutely.
I think we should.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 8 as written.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 9. Do we have to read these into the record every time?
No, if you feel comfortable, that's why I gave them you ahead of time, so you guys could do some of your
Yeah, we
research.
read 'em.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 9, Waterworks operating budget.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On Article 10, I will tell you, I remembered, Article 10 and Article 11, there was a typo where, on the draft I gave you, it was establishing a capital reserve, when in reality, we established it last year. So Article 10 and 11 were just adding, it was changed, the wording was changed to just adding, raising and appropriating 3,500 to put in the existing capital reserve. So
Do we know what's in, I mean, I guess.
yep, that's what that sheet was.
Yeah, I just,
Really made me work on this one though, Ryan.
yeah, I was.
You didn't blow it up at all.
It's hard to read
that's,
it. I can't see it.
you know, it's funny because I asked,
And I hope you're.
I said to Laura, I said, you sure we can't blow that up a little bit? I've already had this
Get a magnifying
conversation. It's unfortunately, that's the way the spreadsheets come out from the I don't know what whether it's the bank or the fund, because when we get them from the
$3,500 right now in each one.
30, right?
35 in each one right now.
I believe
See-
that's what I just read.
No, my only question is now, and I mean, what's the life expectancy of these trucks?
Well, if you take the old cars we had, they had them almost 20 years.
Yeah, they used to use the
That's
old.
what I- that's
They
what I'm
don't
wondering.
really put mileage on them. I actually recently had a conversation, and I think you probably will see here shortly. I had a conversation with John and Rob about flipping the two vehicles because assessing doesn't drive
So
nearly
you
as much.
Once in a while to keep them.
Well, no, actually flipping them from department to department, taking the lettering right off of them and changing assessing to building, and doing that to, so we used to do that in the police department because you have support services doesn't work patrol as much, so they're not
That guy's
driving
got less
around.
miles.
So they got less mileage, so then we
Gotcha.
flip them and bring them frontline, so.
Well, I just looked at it in the fact I didn't know what the actual life expectancy was for the trucks. And if you look at it now, even if you put $3,500 away for the next 7 years, you're still not gonna have enough to buy a new truck.
It's gonna take 10.
Yeah.
It's too bad last year we established this, we didn't put it down as municipal vehicles, town hall municipal vehicles, and made one warrant
One
out
warrant article instead of two.
instead of two, shorten it, but also just put municipal services on the lettering of the trucks, then you could just swap them around, because even though John was built code enforcement officer, if it was called municipal services, that could include your assessing and your building department, then you wouldn't have to worry about the expense of switching signs. Maybe in the years, future, maybe you change that to municipal
Yeah.
vehicles, you know, and
It makes
dedicate it
sense.
to town hall primarily.
Yeah.
And then you could just have one and then replace one every 8
Every,
to 10
right,
years.
exactly.
And the next one replace 5 years after that. So maybe get to life expectancy out of them.
Right.
But the worst problem is where they sit so much like the assessing, they're gonna rot more than they're gonna wear out.
Right.
See, some
Gonna be much
towns
miles on them.
utilize a pool vehicle. Town administrator has to go to Concord.
Jumps in one of the,
You know, we have a pool vehicle, like the assessor.
right.
I don't think he really goes out that much, maybe during a reval he would, but. Building department, they use it all.
Every day.
He's going all the time.
Yeah.
Now, the money for these, you're looking to take out of the surplus one for this.
Actually, I haven't earmarked any, or that was a discussion I planned to have with you folks tonight, I wouldn't recommend taking any money out of the unassigned fund balance for things that are reoccurring for the
Right.
capital reserves. Just there's some of the one-time articles that are in there is where I would recommend utilizing that money, just because it reduces that up and down in the cycle.
Right, because you had nothing there for an estimated tax impact originally on those.
The reason, and I guess I could look into this a little further and find out, but the formulas that they utilize for that, the reason there is no tax impact is because anything under $10,000 is
Supposed to be a
it
warrant article.
carries, well, no, it carries the decimal point part. It's so far below a penny.
Thousands. Yeah.
Right.
It
It's
doesn't
insignificant.
show. Yeah,
It's
that's
an
the thing is it
insignificant increase to the,
so really it shows as the formulas that you're supposed to utilize, because they're only supposed to carry out 2 decimal points, it doesn't show. So that actual zero was intentional because.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, because I added up all the ones with zero and it came out to $81,075. So I didn't know if that's what you were anticipating offering, but I said, well, wait a minute, that's a reoccurring, so you shouldn't be offering that to us.
Right. Yeah, no, I apologize. That's not what that was intended for. And I can find out, I'll ask town council what their thoughts are on if they've encountered that, if there's something to make it a little more clearer than
Can you
putting
put
a
it-
zero on there.
Zero.
But can you put it in the thousands? So you really you wouldn't see it?
Points.
Yeah, we could, I mean, 0.001 or something along those lines.
0.001
yeah.
to the 10,000, or something like that.
So at least there's something on there so somebody doesn't get the wrong
yeah,
impression.
right.
that
We're gonna get questions.
We're
on it
gonna
and say,
take the
why
money
is
out
it
of something,
zero?
like you said, like maybe it's coming out of something other than taxation. I don't want to mislead them, the taxpayer, that to seem like it's not being, because it is being raised through taxation. It's just not large enough to hit the impact. But I'll follow up on that though, with that language.
All right.
Because this is still going to legal counsel and DRA. anyways,
Okay,
and stuff.
so that has to still do that.
Chairman, I make a motion, we approve Article 10 and 11.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve Article 11.
Second.
Didn't you?
We just.
Oh, you just
we
said
said
Your
Article-
motion was
Oh,
10
you
and
did that.
11.
Yeah, we did them
10
both
and
at the
11
same
already.
time. Sorry, Bob.
That was together.
That was the both at the same time. Article 12 is the benefit pay expendable trust fund, which I think we're gonna have that.
That's, yeah.
I'll make a motion, we approve Article 12 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 13. Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve.
75.
You said at the town meeting, Ryan, you think you could have what's gonna be on these? So when we're asked, besides having this, we can say what's in that.
Yes.
Yeah, like
A little bit of an explanation.
just have something at the bottom saying
Love
that
a
there's
rat-
380,000 in there. There's
Right, right.
There'll be a printout of these with rationales too,
Yes.
like we usually do.
Yeah, good,
For you folks, and we'll go through at our next meeting, we'll go through and
Assign 'em.
assign who's gonna speak to what, and at that point, I'll have the rationales for you as well, and everything
perfect.
else, all that supporting information.
Right now, at the end of the year, there is 1.3 million in there. So that would bring it up to 1.675, almost 1.7.
Do they have one more big payment coming out? Is there a payment coming out of that for the boat?
Should be another,
Oh,
there should be
yeah.
a payment coming up the first, yeah, on one of
Yeah.
those trucks, yeah.
Is it the truck or the?
Because the
That was-
boats should have been paid for back in the summertime.
Did they pay that off completely already?
Okay.
We got it?
Yeah, that's already,
Yeah,
that's
that's
already,
already- yeah,
been
that's
paid.
done.
That's been paid.
Yeah, because the last bit was supposed to come out of the no, we paid the the first amount out of the revolving fund. The last part was supposed to come out of the capital reserve.
Okay.
And then there was another conversation that we recently had. There was I want to say it was a pump truck, isn't it?
I believe it's the pump truck. Yes, sir.
Yeah, a pump truck is,
There's another.
that's
Okay.
Just if we can have what has to be paid out of that. Because that other truck was ordered, correct? And we ordered a
Yes.
truck.
Yes, we ordered a truck, I thought, yeah.
Can I make a motion to approve Article 13?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
IT Capital Reserve Fund. I'll make the motion to approve the IT Capital Reserve Fund. I'm sorry, Paul.
That's
Keep
all right.
cutting you off.
No, that's fine. I'll second.
All those in favor?
That's all right with me.
All right, your turn, Paul.
Article 15, Jones Field Capital Reserve Fund. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, who wants to make this one?
I want to know what we're doing with it.
okay, no, I had,
Little bit.
okay, you're done. We're having a little more discussion about this. So the issue is right now, especially it was highlighted obviously during this last evolution, is that we have so Scott had already allocated some money last year for a new repeater, and we haven't got the repeater up there. But the issue we have right now is we have no backup power. We have no dedicated generator or anything for the repeater system. So every time we have an emergency, the first thing that happens most of the times around here, whether it's snow, sleet, wind, it takes the power out. And when it takes the power out, that repeater goes on Prospect Mountain. We can't communicate with each other, and most of the cell towers are down too. We had spotty cell phone service, but that's all between fire, police, and highway. Locally, that's the only way we could communicate. And I know that with some of the new trucks and things that highway's gone, they haven't been outfitted with current radio systems that can handle the interoperability. So with these funds, what we'd be looking to do, one, is create a backup repeater system, whether it is putting full standalone power up there, or generator power up at the tower, or setting up a backup system off of the antenna here that the police department's running off of. So that we have some backup communications that we can swap over to. And then also, in addition to getting some backup power and repeater system, getting the rest of those trucks outfitted with operating radios.
Have you actually got a cost, or is this an estimation, 100,000 either way?
Yeah,
Or have you got some sort of an idea?
I guess some sort of an idea just based on radios that we've recently purchased. And also, no, I don't have a solid estimate on, I didn't have time to get a solid estimate on a generator system or whatnot, but we're also not sure what would work best is a generator system all the way up on Prospect, or something more centrally located like this antenna here. But I know
Does this antenna here reach everything in town when it's up and running? Does it work better than Prospect Mountains?
doesn't work better than Prospect, but the police department's base unit from the state station operates off of here.
Right.
Because their base unit's up on the third floor. tied into that. And we've been using it for years out there. And we don't have very much problem with local communication. There's a few dead spots down 28 and you know,
Right.
where you get into where they were, where the high ravines are with the.
Well, we
where
have
they
that with
blasted it.
cell phones and we got towers right across the lake.
Yeah.
Just for food for thought, I put 2 brand new repeaters in. One in East Wakefield Fire and one at my shop. And replaced all the radios in my trucks, and I think it was right the tune of like right around $55,000 to put that in. And then if you gotta put a generator in, you're looking at another 50 probably, so.
That much for another generator?
Yeah, if you're gonna
By the
buy.
time you propane.
Propane, and put your
Propane.
tanks in and get everybody up there and buy the generator.
Mhm.
You're probably
It'd be almost better to have it down here, I would assume,
because you already got it in.
instead of putting somebody up on that mountain to make sure that thing's running in a bad storm.
Right.
I would assume. it'd be
Yeah, I don't-
there, even
Can't
though you
you
might
get
have
up
some
there?
dead spots.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there access?
They do get it. Oh, yeah, you can drive up there.
Oh, in the winter?
That's a little iffy.
Yeah.
They usually,
say
they usually use something, you usually use a UTV or something with,
Right.
sometimes with tracks on it.
Cause I'm gonna tell you, that storm last week, I wouldn't have been driving up.
Yeah.
There was a UTV.
I'm just curious as to what kind of backup system it needs to be for a generator for the repeater, just the repeater. What kind of amperage that is and what it needs for.
Right, maybe it doesn't need quite the massive
I
generator.
mean, can it be, when you look at full Generac systems for a single family home, you're looking at $6,000 to $10,000.
Right.
That should be
Oh,
more than
that's fine.
sufficient to run a
So that's
repeater.
why I'm kind of curious where the 100,000 came from, so.
But I don't think Prospect
Well,
Mountain is the place to.
No.
Putting a generator.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Be pretty
Well, I-
tricky to get a propane truck up there in the winter.
I think it would be better off here.
Have a little more info to add as far as, Scott had been working on this a lot longer than I had because the highway is the one that has the biggest deficiency with communication. And I'm not just talking about the repeater where the number came from, because he's got a series of trucks that have no communications.
Right, so you're gonna.
They should have.
re-gear
they
up
should-
everything.
Yeah.
So that's where the.
Well, and the
I just looking
radios
for
are a
some
little
sort
more
of
money now
breakdown.
because everything's changed to digital.
Right.
So you have to, the radios are more
Yeah,
expensive.
so we've started to, over the last 2 years here, replace vehicles. I bought the new radios for interoperability. But we have a large, because now we're all one big happy family too. We're finding that it's far more efficient and critical that we need to have communications. Like my grounds of maintenance follow there. If I can't talk to them and I have to find a telephone to call them, it's important to have them have a radio. And Ryan and I did talk about this with a power outage. I did talk with the radio shop today about the new repeater, and the new repeater is set up so that it actually has the ability to have probably about 12 hours worth of battery life that it can actually operate off of through that repeater itself. So that'll take care of, and I have that it's all paid for the repeater up there. But as far as being able to set this up as a backup site, because of it being looking at it as far as EOC, also as far as looking at it as far as having a backup. So if that should happen to go down for a longer term, to be able to have it, be able to transmit from here, because we're licensed. I pulled out the old license for the town, and under our town frequency, we're also licensed for Prospect and for the town hall location. So then we could put a repeater here as a backup. So if you lost the repeater at Prospect, you have this to fall back on, plus we have power here. So,
We have backup power.
Here, yes.
So that would be the perfect. way
That's
to do
what,
it.
That
so
makes
we would
sense,
have
yeah.
to forgo the
This would be the
generator
backup.
here, but we don't have a repeater or anything here, so we have to buy the repeater and.
yes, we'd have to
and
get another.
That all
That's all
installed
startup
and
cost.
stuff. Yeah.
It'd have to be what they, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but a multiplex type of system. So both the PD and we could control it. So there's a way to switch it
Yeah.
so that you can go between the two frequencies.
Yeah, there's an IT thing. Yeah, he just explained it to me. I don't get the radio.
So it does have a hefty price tag with it.
Yeah, oh,
Do
absolutely
that,
does.
but it would put you in a better position for any kind of a disaster situation. And it's unbelievable how crippled you feel when you don't have that communications. As far as two-way communications,
Yeah.
from doing it, it just, you need to have it. Just the whole thing about using phones. I mean, the fire department was great during this incident. They set up basically a text group. And we utilized that for 2 days straight. People logged on, logged off. They set it all up, which was very helpful, but that doesn't get that,
Right.
immediate communications.
Yeah,
that
and
we need.
this last storm really tested the abilities of a lot of towns.
Yeah.
Vulnerabilities and where they were and pinpointed a lot of
It
it.
seems like we're gonna get more and more.
It
of
seems
these
like every
types of
storm
storms.
we get now isn't. a
Heavy
regular
wet
rainstorm.
snow and rain, freezing rain.
Yeah,
Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 16.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 17, Highway Road Reconstruction Capital Reserve Fund.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
I have a discussion on that first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Discussion?
Mr. Heath. Yes. Reading through your capital reserve funds, or Scott. For reconstruction, as of 11/30/2022, we had 393,153, but if I go over 11 balance of 11/30, it's 410,150,67. Can you help me with that?
Okay. Let me just get to it. Reconstruction, okay.
No, it went up.
Oh, you know why it went up?
You had income of 16,000.
Right,
Yeah,
and then an income of another 200.
Yeah, that was the infrastructure. Remember, we got the extra
Grant.
allocations from the state.
Yeah.
That money, after we had the public hearing, that
Yep.
money was pulled into there.
So right now, without any bills coming in November, December, we had 410 left, correct?
Correct. I do know there was some money that was expended this week. It was
On the road.
less than 2 or 3 grand. That has not that did not
Okay.
hit this, so, but it's a couple grand, it's 2 or 3 grand.
So that would give us about 1.6 million then roughly to go in for next summer if we don't have any more emergencies this winter. Okay.
Right.
Nope, that's fine.
please.
That's all I had for discussion.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, Article 18, I'd like to suggest a rock and asphalt crushing capital reserve fund to approve.
Second. Oh, sorry, Bob. Go ahead, Bob. You can have that one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 19.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 20 sidewalk capital reserve fund.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve highway building improvements, repair capital reserve fund for 20,000.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman, I move 22 bridge construction capital reserve, 10,000.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The number are we on?
23
23.
highway equipment capital reserve.
Move we approve Article 23 as presented.
That one.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 24, I make a motion to approve retaining wall capital reserve fund.
This is the wall down in the bay, right? That's.
Yeah, this
That's
one
correct.
that we're currently working
Yeah.
on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
When that's a mess,
yeah, we need to fix that.
I'll second that.
All those in
Have
favor?
discussion.
Discussion, absolutely.
I want to just see what's in that account right now.
Okay.
Retaining wall reserve.
That if I can find it.
I don't see it.
Can't see
Right
it.
here, it's on the first page. So currently there is 108. It says retaining wall.
Okay,
If you go to first page, see where it says police department or police vehicle,
Yeah.
Mhm.
in that block right below it, go all the way to the bottom.
Retaining
right.
wall, yeah, I see
Retaining
it.
wall.
Yeah.
Yep, see it. So the balance is,
108, 162, 01.
Yeah.
All right.
It's we've, as you can see, we've only expended 12,000 at this point, but I
Do you
think
have any idea
I think
what?
we
it's
only
gonna
got, that
actually-
was just 1 week of repairs, I think.
He moved, he
he
moved
was
right
on it
along,
for, he
didn't
was
he?
on it for a while.
Did he move right along?
He did.
He's all the way down to.
Okay. Gentlemen, the only reason I'm asking this because we just did the repeater, which we didn't inspect.
Mhm.
Last year, the municipal tax rate for the tax bills 2023 was $3.91. With adding everything up with what was added tonight, if we approve everything to go before the people, we'd be putting the estimated, and I'll say estimated, because that's what it is, to $5.56 from 391. So there's a couple in here that I'm just wondering, maybe we can
Back down a little bit.
go back down, and we're not going backwards. I'm looking at the retaining wall has 100,000 in it now, unless there's something that's going to happen next summer bigger than what we think of right now. Is that one that we could skip this year?
Since we already have 108.
Yeah, because right now with the warrant, with the operating budget, and if we approve everything that's here so far, we have. You're raising it $1. 891, so 9 cents. It's a 4.
But is there something we could use unassigned funds towards?
I was actually just gonna mention that though. After
Well, you got
done talking.
unassigned funds you could use. I mean, it's.
'cause we
The
did-
only thing is, if we got 100,000 left an hour, is that one man going to expend 100,000?
$100,000.
Because
Right.
I assume that's what we're going to look to in the future is using this company,
Mhm.
this gentleman, to keep working on that because evidently he's doing a good job.
He's, if
So I'm wondering if we
So-
can even surpass that, leave the surplus fund one alone for a minute, because my next one's going to be the library parking lot. I'm going to ask you to go that one for a year too, because even though it is needed, is it really a dire need this year? So that'd be 200 we'd be taking off, but 100,000 was replaced by the repeat for the
Repeaters,
communications.
right,
right,
which is important.
It is
To me, it's
important.
more important
Yep.
because that's life and safety.
That's
But
correct.
also, that is one thing, I know I failed to mention that when we started talking about it, but that's really the first item that's come up that isn't a reoccurring.
Mhm.
So if you were gonna use unassigned fund balance for something, that would be a good project. One of them to cover with some money from the
Or the
unassigned fund
repeater
balance.
too.
Or the repeater.
Repeater, no, the repeater is what I'm talking
That's what
about.
he's
now.
referring to.
Yeah,
It really depends on what we want to accomplish.
I mean,
I have
and
no,
how much can we, I mean, because we didn't pay down the tax rate with any,
No, we didn't.
yeah.
so we still have, I mean, generally, what do we generally
Roughly,
do?
you'll have 3.628 estimated.
Right,
Because I only used 300,000 out of that 315 that Ryan gave us. I went down to
Right.
300. That would give us 3.682. Normally, it really ranged, depending on the Board of Selectmen. Sometimes they said, well, let's offset the tax rate versus doing a one-time expenditure. Sometimes it's been 250 up to 500,000. I think the last year Virgil was here, we did up close to 500,000.
yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was.
one year there was discussion at 7. I don't know if we ever voted on it, but it went up to 7.
But I mean, I was just looking at a couple of things we talked about, but is there a couple of things we can put off? One was this one, because we have that much money in there.
Even if we cut it to 50,
well, that's what I was gonna say, even if it's down to 40,
yeah,
because there was a lot of repairs done. I went down and checked once a week. He was down there for at least 3 weeks.
yeah, he's good, and he's
And
good. He does a very nice job.
He did a thorough job, went all the way through, and the water level of the lake was down enough. He set staging in the water and went all the way across the bottom and replaced all and pointed all the bottom of that wall all the way down. He's done a good job with
Oh, yeah.
that so far, and
Very good.
but in lieu of what we have in the amount in the retaining wall reserve, I think it could be put down to like 50 or 40,000.
And I'm on the same as Ruben as you. I don't think one man can spend that.
And the only reason I'm saying, we do have inflation 8%.
Yeah.
Don't take me that wrong. We went through the operating budget and basically approved everything that was there. because everything went up. And I'm just saying at 8%, we still don't know where anything's going. With these new federal taxes coming in, we don't know where fuel costs are going in the future. Whether it's on the town or the townspeople themselves. I'm just saying, maybe take a year, step back. Things that are not a necessity. The wall is a necessity, don't get me wrong, but we have money there to fix it right now.
Right.
And the parking lot for the library, we have a parking lot, we got Main Street. I know it's to increase our municipal parking, but is that something that we could put off another year?
May I also suggest, I know we're gonna be seeing further down in the warrant articles, also paving the parking lot in the bay, to look at the bay and doing that. So maybe what Ruben is suggesting, to eliminate the $100,000 capital reserve fund for the retaining wall until next year or the year after, and because of the money that we.
Well, and we can't also forget that we have to rebuild a building up at the transfer station as well.
That should be insurance, I'm hoping.
I would hope so.
That should be insurance.
Yeah.
And we have about, what, $5,000 of
I-
uninsured costs, but
What was that? I'm sorry.
I think we have estimated $5,000 of uninsured.
Uninsured.
Costs, and then,
But our updated insurance on those buildings was there though, right?
oh yeah.
Because there was one year there wasn't, and that was the reservoir. When that collapsed on us one year. And that's when the town found out they were really underinsured. They weren't insured what they want, but the insurance company gave us enough money to replace that cover, so which was nice. So that's why I just wanted to make sure that usually we've been keeping up with making sure we had enough insurance on the buildings and stuff.
Then I got an email first thing this morning from Primex that all our new invoices for 2023 were ready. They didn't waste any time.
No time. Oh,
All right.
I'm gonna have to agree with Ruben on this. I guess instead of reducing it to 40 to 50,000, let's just push it back for another year. I have to agree with Ruben on that one. Because I know there's other things too. We do have monies in there.
Right, let's get
To
100.
do, we can continue to do the repairs with what we have.
Do we want to cut it out completely?
You feel we have enough money, Scott, to continue repairs next year?
Initially, when we looked at it, and I ran some rough numbers, just to repoint part, what we have there, with the exception of where the boat ramp, how that has separated. That's the only unknown that we have there as to what we're gonna have to do structurally to redo that. I think when we ran the numbers by using our own mason, we kind of came up with right around, we were gonna be close to 100,000 to do that, with the exception of those corners, and then looking at a ramp system to be able to make handicap accessibility
Right.
to the boat docks, which was a little
Which we
bit,
talked
expanded from that. I mean, we have a ramp that goes down to the swim platform there, which is that's going to end up having to be part of this whole equation too, because that's in tough shape. We're going to have to make some repairs there. So
There's more than just the
the
wall.
long of the short is, yeah, it's gonna, we're not gonna spend it next year. You're not gonna spend, $108,000 next year on what work's gonna be able to be performed.
And the reason I ask you is, with everything else you got listed you want to do down there, plus your boat construction,
Right.
you're gonna have a full plate.
Oh, yeah, there's a full.
There's a lot of work down there.
Yeah.
And some of it may end up having to be, contracted. We have talked with the mason about trying to do some, collaboration by using some of our equipment, to help facilitate what he comes up with for a structural on that corner where those two corners have separated, because they'll probably have to have some kind of like foundation type work done as far as putting in some forms and getting things set there. So.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with it. I mean, if Scott's okay with it, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Ryan, what do you think?
No, I agree. I mean, I think the idea behind it, correct me if I'm wrong, was to, like you said, build on the account for future and more expansive repairs. But that's not all gonna happen next year. So if the idea is that we're trying to, sort of mitigate where we're at, moving, like you said, take a step back a little bit, it's probably a good area to do that in.
Yeah, we won't
Okay.
spend it. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, sounds good to me. There was a motion on the floor, but I believe
It was my motion.
Yeah.
But it wasn't seconded.
And my only other thing is, I think the paving and the sidewalks, are a little more important just because of the liability aspects. Especially the part of the roadway that goes between the pavilion and the public parking.
We are still gonna have to think about this for next year is what.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Kinman just said about the handicap access. Down to the dock.
Yeah, 'cause that's a big-
something that's gonna have to be done.
And you hear about that a lot. It's not just,
No, we've talked about this for
Yeah.
several years now to do that. I didn't realize that was part of this. Sorry. I wasn't thinking of that going with this.
But you wouldn't have because it says retaining wall. not-
That's right.
not ramp.
I think that was something they were gonna try to slip in there.
I didn't see that in there, so. Okay. So,
So we did have
a motion.
motion and a second on the floor.
So we
So
can
we're gonna-
rescind
I'll
it.
rescind my motion.
Rescind it. Rescind your second?
So you need a new motion?
I was gonna say,
Well, that's what I'm thinking about right now,
New
because
motion.
without a motion to bring it forward, I don't think it's not even gonna move on to the.
right, if we're not moving the article forward, we don't have to make a
Yeah.
motion on it. I would-
Shouldn't even go on the warrant because
Right.
we're the ones that set the warrant articles.
Right.
But, well, the budget committee still has to look at it too, right?
No, because
It's not on there.
if you don't, if the board, the selectman doesn't bring it forward, it doesn't go forward.
Because we're the ones that set the warrant article.
We're just striking it out of the warrant article right
Alright.
now, so,
All right,
Okay.
so that can go.
okay.
Alton Bay Railroad Park parking area and paving project.
And I asked why there's two articles though, basically for this. That's what I didn't quite understand.
Well, I saw one for the train.
140,000.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So why they weren't combined together? Maybe Scott can help us with that one or Ryan can.
Well, one, you can go ahead, because
is one of them for back here?
no, one of them,
And then,
one's for the left side of the road and one's for the right side, because one of them has, is offset by the residents over at the pavilion. It's
Yes.
a different portion, right?
But that's the
That's
hundred,
the other, that's,
The betterment,
that's the 140,000 one, correct?
yes,
Yeah, the 140 is to redo everything down in front of, that's on the bay.
Community center all the way back to the
Right,
diner.
and then the other part was to set up a reserve fund so we don't have to ask for one big lump. So when it comes time to do any improvements that we have to do to the pavement over on that side, one of it is that we have that pervious pavement in one section over there. And that will have a cost with it when it comes time to do that.
Estimated years, you think, roughly? I'm not gonna hold you to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
pavement's a different
good
game
answer.
nowadays, but I would, think that, that I'm trying to remember. Ken finished that, what,
Three
three years
years
ago?
yeah.
So, probably within the next, some form of treatment will need to happen to that parking lot, I would guess, within the next 4 years, 5 years.
Mhm.
That they'll have to do something to it, whether it be that you're gonna be crack sealing it, whether you're gonna end up doing some kind of a seal coating with it, you're gonna do something to try to hopefully get things tightened up. Now, the pervious pavement is different animal. We'll vac that and, make sure everything's still working with it that way. Yeah. I've never, I haven't got into any kind of heavy duty maintenance with pervious pavement.
Could that go underneath your road reconstruction though?
I think
Done
so.
parking lots with that. Now in the future, I mean,
I don't know how, when it was set up as to how
Wording of it, yeah.
what the wording was on it.
There's probably some verbiage in there and that, yeah, there's got, I would think that would be part of it, because it's
highway departments by RSA are responsible for highway sidewalks and
parking lots.
as I thought,
Yeah.
municipal parking lot.
Yeah, that would be the only thing. I wasn't familiar with how that was, and
I just
I'm
hate
not-
to see
when
us
they-
set up too much new this year, that's all. Especially where we're seeing a more than 10% increase in the overall tax rate right now, just on the town side. If you came in with an 8%, and this was all 8%, I'd vote for every single one of them, because that's what our inflation is at and everything else. But we're past that's 10% right now with everything that we had without what we just subtracted, that's all. And a 10% increase for me on a budget right now is a little hard, except unless it's highway safety, life and stuff like that. I had no problem with, and the employees benefits and health of our employees. Anything extra right now, I'm a little Being a little more conservative on, that's all.
So to recap, the 33,000 would be for across Route 11 on the west side.
Right, well, it'll be on that side and then anything future. I mean,
Right.
we're gonna do a pretty good repave on that. Wouldn't have to see much work on the other side.
So if you get your main parking lot done this year, you could come back and set that reserve fund up next year though. 1 year.
The
out.
other side.
Good.
Well, for the other side or the whole side, because sooner or later it's gonna be the whole.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Right,
Either way.
right.
You should have and the idea was, as I talked with the town administrator about, was to establish a fund so that we don't have to say, hey, we're gonna need another $140,000 to redo the parking lot again.
Can we make,
Because-
can we make a capital reserve that includes both parking lots?
Oh, we could, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, why couldn't we just do that?
Yeah, I mean, I really, it is about all those parking lots down there. You could set up a capital reserve fund to take care of all municipal.
All
parking
municipal
lots.
parking.
All municipal parking lots, especially if you're talking about potentially in the future
way it should.
expanding that.
That's,
That's the way. it should be.
And that may be a way to deal
well,
with
and
that.
that kind of makes it so we don't have 35 different warrant articles for the same thing.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Just,
However,
a lot of it's just housekeeping.
So if you took Article 29, Article 25,
Put them
to
together.
establish a Alton. Just trying to see how to word it.
An Alton municipal parking lot,
Well,
capital reserve.
yes, but right now your main focus of the Board of Selectmen's main focus is the water park right now, correct? Because that one's just falling apart, the sidewalks,
Yes.
everything.
Thanks. Now, the 40,000 by abutters is an estimation or
correct. Yeah, based upon the square footage
based upon the square
and,
footage.
that cost,
Mhm.
it's there.
And is it known that has anything gone out to them
No.
to notify them or anything as to what that would
There's
be?
been some discussions with a couple of them down there just because of conversation, when I've talked with them, but there hasn't been anybody that said, here's your check, here's your
Mhm,
check.
mhm.
So,
What if you call it to establish a capital reserve fund for municipal parking areas?
I think that's the way to do
And
it.
two is, and the definition, well, what do you want $170,000 for? Because basically that's what it would be, which would be 40,000 off. Is that 40,000 included on top of that 140, or is that 40,000 coming off that 140?
it would come off the 140.
So
So
it'd
you're
just be
asking for
$100,000.
$170,000 of 40,000. You get up to say 40,000 be offset by the butters of the property for the betterment.
Right.
It's primarily going to be used in the Bay Area with 35,000 left over for future expansion of
Municipal parking areas.
repairs and maintenance of parking lots, which we have. Sooner or later, you're gonna have Pearson Road
Right.
coming up.
Yeah.
I just hate to see it listed as the Bay Area, because then you're gonna have someone say, you're gonna have so much money left in it, they'll say, well, why do we have money over here like our sidewalk fund?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now there's up in the air what sidewalk fund is supposed to be for which.
Oh, we squared that away.
They did, okay.
There's only one.
Yeah.
There is only one.
I would like to see you do that, because the Bay, people know in the Bay that something has to be done with walkways one way or another.
Mhm.
And the parking lot itself.
So we'd have to do a separate warrant article to merge it all together and then one to put the
That's
money in.
been 32 years, I think, since that's been repaved down there.
Has it been that long?
Because I was selectman in 1995, and that's when we started that project now.
Mhm.
95.
Get some good life out of it.
Glenn
It's
McLean,
time.
Bonnie Joseph and Pat Merrill were still elected. Glenn McLean was town planner. So,
Best
yeah.
farmers mix in town right there.
That's when they had good.
Yeah, that's back when it was good.
Well, it was.
Yeah, it's lasted this.
See, my road's still lasting. It's just nothing but pug mill since 1985. It's not the greatest, but it's still holding.
But it's there.
So just so I understand, because
At least that's my opinion. It's up to the board how they're
Yeah.
gonna go.
No, I think combining Article 29 and 25, am I right?
Yep.
Combining those two and turning into a capital reserve municipal parking like you were saying.
Area.
Area.
area, because it's like Scott said, down the road, that pervious pavement, something's gonna have to be done. That is costly, because the only time you get that is when they shut the whole plant down. They change everything over and it's quite expensive.
Yep.
And that's the only thing we can put back there, because that's what we've already started with, and the state kind of ordered us to. I have no problem with that, because something has to be done, because it's only gonna cost us more in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and eventually when that stuff clogs up, it's gonna be miserable to take care of.
And hopefully when you do, if this goes through and down at the bay, when you go between the pavilion and the town property there, you push those granite blocks a little further to the left. Because it was tight going down there through the other day with contractor trucks on our side, and people parked on the other side.
Oh, it's hard to get, try
About
plowing,
3 inches through.
try plowing that sometime.
But I would like to see us do Article 29, merge it together with.
Can we do that as a motion or do we?
Yeah, if you want to make a motion to merge Article 25 and
29.
Article 29 into establishing a capital reserve for all municipal parking areas.
Well, seeing that there's no warrant articles really established yet, these are only
No, these are just money, so we can, this would be a new established
Mr.
capital
Chairman.
reserve altogether.
Yep.
I would like to, Article 25. To establish a capital reserve fund for municipal parking lots. The establishment of maintaining them. Of $170,000.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
We have discussion though.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Only discussion I'd like to have is the first year is saying that 40,000 is going to be offset by betterment by the abundance down on the bay. So really the true cost of the taxpayers is only going to be $140,000.
Well, that's kind of hard to say because they haven't agreed to that.
They haven't agreed. That's why I asked you.
Yeah,
That's what we're hoping for.
yeah, yeah. But that's not in stone.
Oh, they don't get
They
paid?
don't get paid.
Yeah,
It's
I
as
think-
simple as that. I mean,
So we won't do the work in front of those.
Oh, from what, Busy Corner Store.
Yeah.
Right now would not get paved.
No.
Only that 8-foot.
That 8-foot
Section that we own would get paved.
the busy corner is not included in that. That part.
I thought we were going up by the Bay Diner on that part.
Yeah, it starts
On
on the
the
Bay
pavement.
Diner.
Right at the edge of the Bave Diner before it goes down to the
I
Bay.
thought it went up.
That little driveway there. In fact, if you remember one of the meetings, the state's gonna be eliminating that.
Yeah,
That's gonna go away.
yep.
Yep.
All right.
So it starts in front of Bay Diner. All the way down to Shibley's, past Shibley's.
Just be careful of that 40,000 wording, that's all.
Well, you were gonna have it in that warrant article. We didn't say anything about it yet, so
Well, no,
that second one.
What's that?
yeah,
Well, the
well,
$40,000 was gonna be in that second warrant article.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
So,
but we haven't got to that one yet. Well, we
well,
have
we
not.
won't if we pass this
If
one,
we pass
because
this, we won't have to.
Article 29 goes away.
Right. 25.
Yeah, if we pass Article 25, Article 29's gone.
So what do we have for a figure?
170.
170,000.
170.
Yep.
Yep. And that was seconded.
Yep. Yeah, it's on the table. All we gotta do is vote on it. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gonna change the wording, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
All right, one more time, just to be clear. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 26.
Second.
All those, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 27 Alton Bay Community Center property.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
That has 20,870
In it,
in it now.
Yeah.
And looking for another 20.
20,008.
All right, let me ask you this question. This is where I'm getting confused on this chart then. That's 20,000 as of 11/30/22. Total appropriation was 20,000. This year had 47 and we expended 20 of it. Am I reading this right or not?
So balance as of 11/30/20.
Chief,
47,270, a balance as of
Yeah, it's
11/30,
11:30,
20,870.
870. That's what I saw.
And then it goes expenses 12/29/22, 6,400,
6,400.
2022 additional appropriations of 20,000. So total after 22,000 is $47,270.
that's the way I'm reading it too.
Yeah, the math don't add up.
So I'm taking that's what we have left in there.
Is
That's how we've read the other ones.
is the 20,870 or the
47.
47.
47,270?
47, that's how I'm reading it.
Is that what we got? Is that what we got in there after?
47,270, 50.
Because the appropriations, there was another 20,000
Right,
appropriated,
that was.
2022.
Right. So if we added another, that'd be 67,000.
67, so that's why I was gonna ask Scott, just on another note. Plans on buying a new truck for grounds and maintenance next year, or are you gonna move it? Because we just moved some trucks around.
Yep.
Moved the 550 Ford water department over there last year, right? And pickup truck wise, is that what we're looking at now or for a replacement or?
So the replacement vehicle for next year is actually the janitorial van
Okay,
that's up for replacement.
all right.
We had allocated in that to CIP of 30,000 to do that. Haven't been able to find one for that in a new fashion, so we may end up having to, depending on what, I think you said there was about
47.
7,000 in there. So, it's, right now, I was looking at one of those, I think transits.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little van to work out of, yeah, for janitorium.
Okay, thank you. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 28, unless you already had it up for discussion.
No, nope. That's the motion. I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alton Bay Railroad Park, that's done.
Mm-hmm. Article 30.
Yep. New Riverside 2 Cemetery. That's a new CRF in funding.
Approve Article 30. Make a motion to approve Article 30.
Well, second for discussion.
Discussion.
Yeah, I'm looking for this on the,
It's new.
this
It's
is a
not
new
on there.
this is
creation.
new,
Yeah,
this is
it's
a new
not on there.
creation, so it's not on there.
Nope.
Okay.
So we haven't put any money away. That's the
For that.
point, is to start putting money away for,
The columbarium.
and you know,
Right,
for the-
for all the work that we've
Growth
already
and-
started as far as the drawings and or the crematory.
Yep.
Can we move Article 30 and 31 together, combine it for 75,000 versus 100,000? Because the expansion of the new Riverside Cemetery, besides the crematorium, not the crematorium, but the calarium, cremation, intimate sites, couldn't that all be used as one where it's going to be used for the whole cemetery? Stop putting just one capital reserve for building and the expansion.
Let's see what-
Yeah. I don't
Can't see why not.
You're right.
And would we
I
be
was just
satisfied
mentioning.
with only putting 75 versus 100?
I think so.
Both of them called for 50,000 each.
Yeah, I don't have an
I
issue.
don't see why I can't.
Bob, you got an issue with that?
Well, yeah, as long as it's gonna be enough money.
Well, you won't have enough money to build that brand new building the first year, I
No.
wouldn't think. And right now, we're not ready to establish a new building
Mhm.
down there, are we, Scott?
No. More rough numbers here.
Mhm.
That whole was. So. It's all wrapped in together and then.
Right.
Sure.
So this is more of a, still a 2 to 3 year plan though, to try to get this worked out.
Try
So
to
we
get it
got
built
time,
up.
yeah, I think that's, I think
get-
that's a good idea.
Let's combine them.
Yep,
Make
the 75.
So make Article 30, new Riverside 2 Cemetery, new CRF and funding for $75,000.
And do away with 31.
Do away with 31, yes, sir.
I'll second that, if that was a motion, Ruben.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more discussion on that?
Did we have to rescind someone's motion?
Oh, did we already make?
We
a
already
motion?
had, I second it.
Oh, I apologize.
Ruben.
I rescind my motion on Article 30.
Good call.
I rescind my second.
All right, and we'll
Keep us honest.
make a new motion.
Look
Article
over it.
30 to read, establish the new Riverside 2 Cemetery CRF funding of $75,000 for the purpose of expanding and building.
Expanding and building the buildings for cemetery.
Buildings for cremation.
expansion and buildings of
columbarium,
Riverside 2 Cemetery.
Yep,
And you seconded. it.
Mouthful.
yeah, and I seconded it, yep, and I'll second it. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think the lawyer might even have more words to say about it anyways, put it in legal form anyway.
Yeah.
Some more, well,
So this one's going.
we just wait for another storm and building thing might take care of itself.
Transfer station building and site improvement capital reserve fund. I'll make the motion on.
I don't
that.
think we need to have much of a discussion about that one.
I'll make the motion on that.
So I'm gonna ask you for discussion.
Yep, I need a second first.
I'll
Second.
that.
Discussion?
So is this establishing one, Ryan? Because you only have a solid waste building and site
I didn't
improvement.
see it either.
And you have transfer station equipment. I don't really see one that says transfer station building and site capital reserve.
So it's 909 Solid Waste Center Building and Site
Okay.
Improvements.
Well, if it was bigger, I probably could have seen it.
Threw that run right back at me.
It's a little big.
It's there.
So we have a total of
158, 951, 61.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, that's correct.
Up to 200.
Any more discussion on that?
Mm-mm. All right,
We have
it's
a
second.
motion on that, right? Can I get- All those in favor?
Aye.
Veterans tax credit, I'll make the motion. To keep that.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Town Hall Building Improvements Capital Reserve Fund, this is the one that we needed to readjust, right?
right.
Or,
Yeah, so the reason for the increase on that is as most of you are probably aware, as a result of the storm. All of the windows on this side of the building would leak because the minute it started getting the wind
Yeah.
blowing it up against the windows. It started leaking all around the exterior sills. And coming in, and some of them were coming in with that we had to have active buckets and stuff. Oh yeah, I got
Was that
photographs. The
bad?
clerk's office was that bad. Melissa's window, by her window, that back window had the most. We actually had grounds and maintenance personnel actively caulking the windows while we were trying to stop the water. So as a result of that, first of all, I had a meeting with the stonemason today, the brick mason. about getting an idea of overall what it would cost to do a restoration on the exterior of the building.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the repointing that needs to be done is around the windows.
Mhm.
In those areas, plus obviously, there was never any sill work done on the exterior when they put these replacement windows in. And we really, you're gonna need to replace those and tighten those windows.
Tighten it up
Yeah.
around the.
Can't.
Yeah.
So even my window up here, what's that?
You talking about doing them all or just that side,
No, the whole building.
whole building?
Yeah, the whole building. It all needs to be done. I mean, we have a more protection on this side because of the other building.
Yeah.
But here we're exposed all the time,
Yeah.
to that pushing wind every time there's a storm.
Well, and just for simple math, if there's water coming in, there's heat going out.
Yeah, that's the point. But
Not to mention the damage that. it can do
Yeah,
to the
well,
inside,
that's-
no, inside the woodwork and floors.
on a good note, there was no roof leaks.
Yeah, that's,
This time,
that's a plus.
What?
this time.
This time.
Well, that was quite the rain,
Yeah.
Yeah.
windswept rain. If
So,
we didn't leak, it's probably not.
Hey, it was so funny how it hit the area in different areas though.
Yeah.
It was really down on Main Street. Didn't feel anything on that end of Main Street. Just as easy as could be. But depending on where you were in town.
I got it all over there.
We got hit.
I got worried
Yeah.
about,
Quite a few trees went down there.
was watching that tree right across the street at Maxfield's with the branches and employees' cars. My car was down. Your Jeep was close to that one. The limbs were just swaying, praying to God that trunk didn't let go.
Chairman, I approve Article 34.
All right.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 35 been put in there?
No, that was, that was originally on the draft. That was
Oh,
original.
I know, it was originally on the draft. That's why I'm asking though.
What's that?
Article 35, could that have been moved over to Article 34? Because it's a capital reserve. But is that a one-time expense you're
It
looking?
was a one-time expense I was looking for, and I kept it separate too in case the board just chose to fund it out of the fund balance.
That's what I would
versus-
recommend.
versus-
I agree with that.
Mhm.
So that means it would take it off no, it would stay on the warrant article.
On the
just
warrant
be
article, but it will say.
Zero
no
tax impact.
No impact.
Correct.
It would say, instead of a tax impact, it will say no money raised through taxation.
Yeah, we come out of the fund, which normally says come out of the fund balance.
Right.
In the past, Ryan.
Yeah, it'll say, yeah, it makes that statement money to come out of the
Fund
Not to come from taxation, but to come from unassigned
fund
funds.
balance.
All right.
Make a motion to approve Article 35. That the a 65,000 come out of the unassigned fund balance.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'll make the, I'll move Article 36.
So a question I would have for Ryan, you're asking, I'll second it, sorry.
Yep, no, let's.
The other 50,000, you're looking at, we'll take 100,000, we'll take care of it to get the lift done.
I believe so. The quotes that we have, so we went out and then we sought out a bunch of quotes between the lifts and stair chairs, or not stair chairs, but stair lifts and vertical lifts. Vertical lifts were the least expensive method, but the problem is retrofitting them into a building like this. So again, so the quote, the best quote that we got was for a 3-person type elevator, vertical lift. We'll do 3 floors maximum. And it came in all assembled, the shaft and stuff. We had to do the outer, sheetrock and frame around it, but the inner steel shaft and controls and all that was a little over 61,000. But which we probably could have done that with the 50 we had and maybe some money out of the operating budget this year. The problem is the fire escape issue, because the only place to put a lift right now without cutting a hole through the middle of the building and trying to figure out how to support it was to go through this back staircase on this corner. Because where the landings are, it's already set up. You could break through, and it's structurally, everything's all okay in place, but that takes away our second form of egress.
Right.
So I gotta have we gotta have a fire escape, and that's where the extra money comes in, is that we have to be able to design, structural, and I do have, Teague and Bond agreed to have one of their structural engineers take a look at it and see if they could put some plans together, some stamp plans for us. So they're gonna take a look at it right now. Let me know what that would cost to do the plans, but then I have to have somebody fabricate it and put it up, so.
So this could be 50,000 could not come under the unassigned fund balance to them.
Yes, yeah,
So
one
it'll be a
time,
one-time project when we
Right.
get it done. I
Right.
think that's where the last 50,000 came out of too.
probably,
if I'm
yes.
mistaken.
Correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there a discussion at one point of actually putting the lift in the old town administrator's office in the corner? In the corner, going down to the first floor,
Yeah,
so that it would be in the front, near, behind the stairway?
they mentioned when the companies came out, there were two options is they had mentioned the other option. But the problem is where that lands in the basement, which you have to have. a site plan.
Yep.
So up front, you end up towards the old jail cell up in that front area right there. It's not, I mean, it would be hard because you really have to create the whole space where back here,
Mhm.
the old boiler room is there. You already
Right.
have that square
It's already
sump and
in there.
everything in there in the corner.
I know
But
there's
yes,
some talk about
but-
that
but- yep,
over there.
yep, they, it was, what they would have done is, and if we want to explore it further, we can. It's just a lot more costly, structurally wise, when I talked to John, 'cause I did talk to John about it. Because what they would do is basically the shaft would come up through, the doors would open right at the base of the stairwell right there. But the back half of the shaft would be into that front corner of the hikey room. And then it would come up through the front corner of the hikey room, and then it would be half into the corner of the town administrator's office and where the old radiator used to be. So the doors would face right there. So the location of the entry and exit of the lift would be great, would be ideal. Cause you'd be right at the bottom of the stairs or right at the top of the stairs. The only issue was when you actually went down through into the basement, where it was gonna land in the basement and how we were gonna create and capsulize that. What they call, it's not a sump, it's, you kind of have to go down and it's like a concrete pad
Yeah.
area almost where the shaft sits on and comes down in.
Correct.
It just.
I was just thinking of offsetting the cost of putting in a fire escape,
Mhm.
and having people coming from up the ramp all the way through the building to get access to come to the second floor back here, as opposed to all in the front.
Right,
Um,
yeah. And we might be able to offset some cost that way. It still would be some additional construction costs, but either way, if we have the additional money, we could explore that
Yeah,
option
okay.
further.
just curious.
And see whether or not we can make that work, because you are right. The access and egress from it, the lift would be better than in the back of the building. Would be better up there. It's just a matter of trying to make everything work as part of that,
Sure.
so.
Chairman, we have a motion on that one yet? I remember.
I don't think
we
so.
Talked about it.
There-
Yes.
That the 50,000 come from the unassigned fund
Yep.
balance.
I think we have a motion and second on that, right? Stacy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman, I'm requesting that Article 37 be pulled. At least that's my opinion.
Okay. Rest of the board?
Anybody looked at our master plan? They addressed
Yes.
that pretty
Yeah.
heavily in there.
It is
Yes,
in the
they do.
master plan.
Yes, they do.
It is addressed in the master plan for the expansion of municipal parking.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
just as to throw out an alternative idea that might work to both ends. Maybe if we reduce the sum to $10,000 from 100,000, and that would just give us the money to at least, because I think we have probably a good 6 months to a year's worth of permitting. So we had the meeting with DES and got the informal, okay, we'll look at it. We don't see any big red flags, things like that. But there still has to be a whole full-blown dredge and fill process with
Right.
that.
Right, there's a
It's
lot
gonna
of-
be,
there's a lot of
ti-
paperwork to
it's
get
gonna be
Go along.
timely, but
I
well,
would go along with the 10,000 for you.
well, I figured that this year would maybe just give us
I think that's enough.
time to do the due diligence. And then next year, maybe we can look at what the actual construction costs, because we'll have better, if we have the permit, we can do some preliminary engineering.
I mean, I would think 20 would be,
I'll go with 10. He asked for 10.
you're asking for 10, but if that's what you want to go with,
I think I can get my
Is
permits.
that
with 10. I think we can,
10 is enough.
I think we can work with it. We can get enough to at least get us moving and forward in the right direction.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, Article 37 to read for the municipal parking lot, to see it to vote.
You just want to scratch out a couple zeros?
That's what I just.
$10,000.
Yeah. Do you want to do the fund balance on that too?
Unassigned fund balance.
Yeah.
Unassigned fund balance, yeah, okay.
Sure, why not?
I'll second that. I'm sorry. Any discussion?
We had discussion.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I'm doing math here.
That's okay.
Trying to do.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve Article 38 for $25,000.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep, go ahead. Yep.
I make a motion on Article 39.
Now, I have a question. I know we've discussed this in the past. That's what I'm doing math on to see what the total of this. Can we total this all up, make a motion for the total of all this stuff? And then have the town disperse it as we see?
How it needs to be split.
Yeah, instead of, I mean, there's 15 warrant articles.
What are we talking, which one are we talking about?
Like for I'm sorry, we're on milfoil, aren't we?
We're on milfoil.
I apologize. I
Milk.
apologize.
I made a motion on.
Okay.
39.
I'll second the milfoil, absolutely. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry about that.
Yes, to answer your question, you could put one warrant article unless it was done by petition. That's the only way you couldn't, but you could list to see if the Alton town to raise and appropriate the sum of,
Yes.
and you put one blank number in there, and then you could list them.
List all these on it.
Which ones, how much money goes to each one?
Right.
You could do that, yes.
And then, well, I just think it would say, I mean, when people are sitting there voting on it, they're sitting there going, well, by the time they're done, they're going,
And the problem you have, you're gonna have some that don't vote for it, that don't want this one. They might vote it down, but the problem is I've never seen these fail.
right.
Except for 1 year, and I want to say. it was-
I'm just maybe trying to get a little housekeeping into it to make it,
You know, I understand where you're coming from.
I'd like to see them combined, but
Again, I'm against that.
okay,
I'm for it for the simplicity of it, and make
Right.
it easy. Don't get me wrong. But these things have got some serious problems. These are people asking for money.
Mhm.
And I have some problems with some of them. You know, it's,
you want to go through them?
well, like if you go to the Alton, the first one, the Alton Community Service nonprofit, see, all of that stays in Alton.
Mhm.
That's the best one of the bunch. Most of these, CASA's another good one, but
Mhm.
that's not much money at all. But if you total these all up, it's.
well, that's what I was working on, but I,
Right. It's a 65,000. I didn't get the exact.
It is.
figure, But. You know, be honest with you, I'll be voting against it if we did it all. Because I have a problem with the Red Cross, for example,
well,
personally.
right.
And I think it's nothing but a big money organization. If you look at their infrastructure, it is some scary out there.
And I say that, but I just was and the only reason I say this is because I was just at a house fire with our excavator because they couldn't put it out without our excavator in there. And Red Cross came right in and helped those people right out, and it was,
I'm not saying they didn't,
right,
but what did it cost? What,
right, I don't know that, I don't know that.
yeah, and these organizations, if I've looked into a lot of them financially, and every dollar you give them, you're lucky if you get a half a buck back, if not 20 cents, some of them.
But if, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Bob, but if everybody didn't put into this and the Red Cross, if everybody thought the way that way, and I mean, it's $2,000. If everybody thought that way, eventually there's not gonna be a Red Cross, and then that's, you know, and I get what you're saying. It's not generally based just for Alton. I get that. I just don't know.
No, I understand that too. But I have to say a personal My brother
I remember.
had a fire
I talked
2
to
years
you.
ago.
Yeah,
And the Red Cross were absolutely fantastic and how they treated them. They were out there immediately.
I'm not saying
And-
they don't do,
So I have a lot of respect for them.
but what I am saying for the dollar wise, they're not. You know, you take their total income.
Well, what if we go through these and we'll figure, I mean, we'll vote on them.
Well, the problem I got is. Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bob. I want to hear what you got to say.
No, I mean, about combining them. I mean, you know, if you guys want to do it, do it. It's,
Oh, we have that discussion. I apologize. I need first one. The the idea of combining all the nonprofits that was already brought to warrant once and it failed. So we don't have an option. The taxpayers have already said no, that we can't combine them. So somebody, I don't know if that was, I think it was a petition warrant article that was brought forward.
Also,
As
I
far-
don't remember it.
Yeah, it was about three.
I know some other previous selectmen have mentioned that.
There's been a lot of
that.
discussions and
and
someone
try and cut
finally
it
threw it on the ballot one year and it failed.
Or at least cut it down and maybe eliminate some,
Mm.
you know, if there's some that people like
Saying we
you're
can't.
saying,
You can't combine them.
okay.
Yeah.
we can't put them
Can't
together.
combine them. It would have to, we'd have to, if you wanted to explore it again, we would have to, I can put a warrant article on here if the board would like me to.
Can we find out what that year that was voted on?
Yeah, we can do that. Holmes.
Just so when somebody raises that question again, saying this is why we can't. I remember hearing about it, but I can't exactly remember it.
Sure, sure. And I have to look it up. I don't
Let
know.
it-
Have we ever, we got the list. I swear the list gets longer every year as far as.
Hey, so the way that it, the way that it works is we don't add any to them. If it's a new one, it's brought separately. It's not just part of it just doesn't get rolled in to the group.
Have we ever just gone through it and just eliminated 3 or 4 of them?
I think we'd get lynched if we did that.
You think we'd get,
No,
No,
no, there's been times that the Board of Select majority didn't agree with one, voted one down, but they got beat up pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly. I remember
Yeah, beat
getting
up by
somebody
the-
getting beat up pretty
I
bad.
remember the only time that I can remember one being voted down was called the Appalachian Trail or the Appalachian Club.
I remember that one.
Well, last year, wasn't there something with somebody with one of the mental health ones or something and it got cut or something like that? I remember something along that lines. It got, yeah.
something
Uh-huh.
like that.
Yeah, I
I'm
remember.
not gonna
that.
say any names either.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I just remember it
I
got,
didn't get beat up, but or got beat up pretty bad.
yeah, somebody
Yeah,
did.
oh, yeah.
All right, we'll start.
So we can't combine them.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so we'll start
except,
with,
Article 40.
Okay, I'll second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
I
All right,
make a motion. to-
Bob, you want to make this motion or?
No, sir.
Go ahead and flip that mic back just a little further.
And why do you think I was starting that?
I know, go ahead, Paul. I had to throw that in there though. Go ahead.
I make a motion to accept Article 41, American Red Cross nonprofit. Profit.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
3 to 1.
Yep, I'm writing it. Article 42, cap nonprofit. Is this what we use for fuel assistance and stuff?
Well, yeah, but I
Yes.
10,000 can't help much.
I was just gonna say, that's what's that
all
one
comes from
tank?
the state. So I gotta say it's more for meals and transportation.
Okay, I'll go with
And it
that.
is, well, it's food assistance program.
Yep,
move
Wick-
article.
It's WIC.
See,
Move
a lot of
Article
these are
42.
repetitious too.
But they do submit requests for these every year. So Stacy has a binder with requests from every nonprofit.
Well, and I'm okay with it because people need to get transported to doctor's appointments and get fed. But I, like Ruben said, I think $10,000, if you're gonna put heating fuel in people's houses, you're not gonna put too much heating fuel in.
No, well, it has come down to $4.23 a gallon, so we're all right.
So as long as this money gets spent, no,
Yeah,
and
Mhm.
we don't know that.
did that
I
get,
think it does.
I don't know. if-
I made a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
just, we had discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Caregivers of Southern Carroll County and vicinity nonprofit.
Motion to approve Article 43.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, approve Article 44.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
I make a motion to approve Article 45, Granite VNA, FKA Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice.
I'll second that.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Lakes Region Mental Health.
I'll move it. Article 46.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Life Ministries nonprofit. What is that?
Food pantry out of Wolfboro.
Okay. Now, can our people go up there and use it?
Yes, they
Okay,
can.
all right.
Last year, the year before, if I remember right, they did about 100 and some odd folks from town. This year, they did about 45 that went up to.
Okay, good. All right,
Make a motion to approve Article 47.
second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. New Beginnings nonprofit. I'll move that.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Waypoint nonprofit.
Make a motion to approve Article 49.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Good. Sorry. Discussion. Let's get the birds starting to chirp. here for a minute.
I started hearing
Yeah.
crickets.
Second. I mean, yeah. Alrighty then. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Getting punchy.
Ooh. Welcome to Alton sign. I'll move that.
We don't have to, these are petition
Oh,
warrants.
these are
Yeah.
petition. Okay, sorry.
So these links to our petition articles, we don't need to vote on them.
Okay.
They need to go on.
Say number 51 was new.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never seen this state granted
No, I
state.
haven't seen that one. either.
So this was another warrant petition that came in. Must have been shortly after that draft was put together. So just so you know, the petition warrant article deadline doesn't hit for another week. So it could be another petition article that comes in between now and when these are finalized with the budget committee, but nobody votes on none of the boards vote on the petition articles. They go on ballot as is on the warrant. They can only be modified on the floor. I will tell you that there probably will be some modifications on 50 because legally there's some issues with this petition article because you can't talk about extra funds being put into a capital reserve that hasn't been established. So we don't have a capital reserve for a sign. And the warrant article can't be vague as that any extra monies just goes. It has to be a specific amount.
So that's gonna need a wording
But
change.
they,
that will need some
they can
change.
do a word change on the floor, correct?
Right. I have reached out to the main petitioner for this one. I just have not received
So
any.
could they turn around and ask for $20,000 to come from the unassigned fund balance to support it? Which is being raised by taxation or 10,000, whatever they need.
I don't think that I can ask legal on that, but I don't think a petitioner can request money to be used under the unassigned bound balance. I think that has to come from the board.
I just want to, yeah.
But I do think that, I do know that, there's another group in town that wants to raise that amount. To 25,000 because they have a bigger plan or view, of what they would like the sign to be and represent. So, there'll be some, I know there'll be some discussion. I don't know what it'll be, but there'll be some discussion.
Well, thanks for putting it at the very end.
Well, I just wanted you to know that there is, legal is already, I had talked to him about the word, that last part of wording, because he's already said that that has to be, we have to address that. Because he's the one that suggested I try to reach out to the petitioner, and I just haven't got any response back. But he said either get to ask the petitioner to change it because of the legalities behind it, or we might have to make some changes on the floor.
All right.
And this Granite State one, like I said, it came in. And there is some possible wording issues with this one too, but it's there's a lot of information in here for a warrant article. But the big thing is it asks to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 for the purpose of supporting services provided to children and all experiencing alleged abuse. It's not saying where you're raising the money for. In the title, it's Granite State Children's Alliance, which, but in a normal nonprofit or any other warrant article, it says to raise and appropriate X amount of dollars for the, to support the Granite State Children's Alliance or to support a certain company or nonprofit. This one just says to provide services to children in Alton. So I am leery that if this were to be passed with the wording the way it is, the town would end up with the money. We would end up with the money that's raised and appropriated because it doesn't specify where that money goes, only to children in Alton that are experiencing alleged abuse. See what I mean?
Okay.
There's not, it's just,
Yeah.
So we would be, basically when I say we, meaning the Board of Selectmen, the town of Alton would end up being the holder of the funds and the agents to expend, basically. If this doesn't, but I know I haven't reached out to the petitioners. I know obviously the main petitioners for this one as well. So I will reach out to them and see if they want to make some adjustments prior to or on the floor.
This is a new organization, do you know?
No, it's not. It's an old it's not old, it's not newly created, but they have a lot of funding issues because basically these are the what's it called now? Why am I thinking about, I can't think of the name. It's the organization, so it's the Lakes, the Advocacy Center, Child Advocacy Centers. That's what it is, Child Advocacy Centers. And they have one all around, they have ones in each county, basically. So like Merrimack County has their own different organization. We have the Greater Lakes Child Advocacy Center. Basically, it's a center set up to do forensic interviews for child abuse, child neglect, sexual abuse cases. They're specifically designed, educated, and is set up to provide a very safe and comforting area for a child to who has to disclose. Yep. And they set it up so they only have to disclose once. So you're not talking to a detective, then you're talking to an attorney or an investigator. You do it one time, everything is memorialized. Yep. And then it's taken from there through the legal process. So that's it for the warrant articles, huh? Made it through.
All right.
Wasn't that painful? Maybe it was, I don't know.
Selectmen's reports, Mr. Holt,
Also,
Mr. Wentworth.
Nothing to report this week.
Nothing to report.
Okay. All I'd like to do is I'd like to, and I'm sure the board is on board with this. I haven't talked to them, but just say thanks to all the guys in the departments for this storm. I've been doing public works for a long, long time, and this is one of the worst ones I've been through. And my hat's off to you guys. You guys really stepped it up and did what you had to do to get things done. So I'd like to say thank you because it wasn't easy to deal with.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, yes, I agree.
So thank you, gentlemen, and everybody that's not here. We thank you guys. There was a lot to deal with and you guys did a great job doing it. So
we're lucky.
we are lucky.
Good job all the time. Mike.
Yep,
That's right.
yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
after we made this motion to move these on to the budget committee, can we ask the town administrator and the finance officer to get us the estimated municipal tax? Or what it would be right now,
Impact, what it would be.
what it would be.
Yep.
So last year's, like I said, 2021, 2023 was $3.91. I'd like to see where it is.
where it lands. Yeah.
For an
So you
estimated.
can-
I can drum that
And
up.
I understand that's less revenues and everything else, so.
Yep. Okay, all right. Town administrator report. I don't know if we're ready for this, are we?
Yeah. First of all, again, next meeting date, January 16th is a holiday. We're closed. So,
Why wouldn't we?
yeah, so what are the board's wishes? Do you want to move it to January 23rd?
Going from the 16th to the 23rd.
Doesn't seem like that.
That would be the following Monday after that. Or if you want to keep it in that same week, we can do. Not sure about the calendar though. Can't.
Is there anything on the
No,
17th?
Wednesday, The 18th?
Is there anything on the 17th?
Yes, she said the Tuesday is. Budget, is it budget?
Oh, I know what it is. No, it's master plan. I mean, planning board, right?
Huh? So if you want to keep it in the same week, we can do the 18th, Wednesday.
Problem with me.
Yes.
I can't do Wednesday. I have obligations on the other.
Oh, the earlier.
Yeah.
We can do, we could do Thursday, the 19th.
I can do Thursday.
That's fine.
I can do Thursday.
Thursday.
You all right Thursday?
Yep.
We'll just tell Andy it's on Thursday. He's gonna make it. All right, so we'll do 119. All right, just for your information, sorry, there's the solid waste transfer center 2023 holiday schedules.
Yep.
Those will be the scheduled dates that'll be posted unless you see any issues or have any concerns about any of those. They're pretty standard from year to year.
It's nice to have. I'll put one up in the store and I want to be asked.
And you don't have to answer.
There you go.
There you go.
I'll leave it in my truck.
All right. The other thing that you have, I'm going through all the quick items real quick. There was a memo there that had been brought up to me from the Public Works Director. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look over that real quick.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You know, basically, obviously, to the unforeseen flood events.
Mhm.
Yep.
It put some constraints on time. If the board doesn't have any problems with that, would I be able to get a motion to allow those employees to carry over?
Make a motion to approve. Letter that was submitted by the Public Works directed to the town administrator. On January 3rd, 2023, carrying over 18 hours and 11 hours. It's the household himself.
I'll second it. Discussion at all? All those in favor?
Hi.
Right.
The next thing I wanted to follow up with a little bit more in the discussion. Last time during TA report, I had brought up the issues of the facilities and land, and we were talking about the old Doll property possibly for Public Works and the fire station current location behind it, locating it. I did get some information on the breakdown of the flood zones. So obviously the only current, and I want to give you this flood information so you can go on and think about it a little bit more. I'm not thinking about drawing this into a long conversation tonight, but actually the fire chief did a great deal of legwork and got this packet off of FEMA's website. So the current flood maps right now still haven't been updated since 1988 or 86. But what they have done is FEMA has come up with designated flood zones. There's roughly 18 flood zones, and what each different one means. And the most important out of all this, they have high risk flood zones going from these are all like 100-year floods. And it goes through about 12 different zones.
Just tested that, didn't we, last week?
Yeah, we tested it. We didn't. In the apparatus, we're not floating, so we were good. So
That's still hanging in there.
Yeah.
yeah. So What the most important part to note about it, and again, like Ruben had pointed out last meeting that, and I've been part of these conversations for years too, that there's a floodplain down there. There's a floodplain, and that's a concern. It is a concern, but over time and the changes in climate and in just the surrounding areas, the way that the rivers are flowing and whatever they're doing, smarter people than I are evaluating. We've been designated into flood zone X, and X is the lowest floodplain that FEMA identifies. It actually is a 500-year floodplain. This is the way it reads. It says flood zone X, also known as flood zone X 500, is arguably the safest flood zone designation, as it is considered to be outside the 500-year floodplain and is also protected by a flood control system such as a levee or dam. So
Which makes
because,
sense, because you get the mayor meeting again. If it gets up to the bridge, it's going over the dam before it goes anywhere else.
right. So as of the information right now, no, I did also put this information out to Teague and Bond, so that, because they have their engineers, so their GIS expert is supposed to be looking at this to provide us with some more comprehensive information to consider and think about, but also the idea that they have civil engineers there, because they're, the chief and I had a conversation too. Makes sense that the way that the fire station is built right now, it's built low, but that ground rises as it goes back. It makes sense that you would design the property, suitably, so that you would be to the high and not to the low, which would also help its position as far as water control and all that stuff. Should we have any issues, but if we get way
So
past.
basically what that's saying is if the act floods, then we should be building an ark and not a fire station.
Exactly,
Gotcha.
exactly. It means that the entire town is at
It's gotta be
risk,
flooded.
not just that area,
Right.
not just 140. Because as it goes past this, so past flood zone X, the very next category is undetermined. So it goes right from, that's the very one that's determined at the lowest level, and then it jumps right to undetermined. So.
Fair enough.
So fair enough. Basically, I wanted to give you that information to see at this point, I don't think there's a deterrent there as far as to explore it further. If you guys are in
But
agreement
I
with
mean, if
that.
we've already got it, that's less money we gotta spend trying to.
That's right. That's good, valuable information.
That it is.
Okay. Last thing I wanted to run by the board, and we can either discuss a decision tonight or think about it and come back to it, but the next part of this renovation idea, as far as the town hall is concerned, and I'd actually had the opportunity to walk through the building with Paul and talk to him. This is that second part when you had asked me about office space for the to improve the trustees of the trust fund. I'm sorry, the supervisors of the checklist and stuff. So the idea down in the basement is that, so John and I took a walk down there today to make sure, before my conversation with the board, to look at everything and make sure he was in agreement with the idea. So the idea is to refinish the area where the old police station was, where you walk in at the bottom door on the side where the old police window is. There's a hallway that goes back there. And then there's some map filing cabinets on the left-hand side. So basically we would just clean up and finish that area. Off to the left where the supervisors of the checklist office is now, their office will remain there, but instead of going the long way, it's going to go out towards that walkway in the middle. So the walkway in the middle, over the years, they had put up some block walls. They're not structural. It's just center block. And it created that walkway, that path that goes to the server room door. So the idea is in between each one of those is evenly spaced brick columns, and those brick columns are the support columns for the carrying beam. So if we took out the block walls in between the brick columns and incorporated that walkway space, we would end up with three offices. Oops, sorry. Three offices right off the hallway from the old police station. So basically by following the columns, you end up with three offices. I think the measurements, I think they were roughly about, I think it was like 15 by 18 or something along those lines.
Much better
Yeah,
layout.
yes. It gives them much more, and the three offices would be utilized ultimately as, the supervisors of the checklist would remain in that first portion. Then the trustees of the trust funds would be in the second portion. And then the third portion, which is right off of the server room, would become Josh's office. And that wasn't a punishment to Josh that he requested that. Just because he'd be close to the server room and wouldn't have to keep going up and down.
Makes sense.
So my question for the board would be whether or not they would be all right with moving forward with that idea and going forward.
I don't have a problem with it. I think I'd like to see a number of what it's gonna cost though before I.
I'd like to see trustees of the trust fund, see how they feel about it too.
I did talk to Dave.
Oh,
I did.
I think they're in favor of.
Are they in favor? Because they want it out of the cellar because of the moist, the mildew, and everything else, musty air. What are we gonna do to make better air situations down?
Well, the thing is the new HVAC system has drops in all over those areas now. So, yeah, it's
not
all,
dampening it.
the other thing that we have is we opted for the extra UV protection. So, I mean, I know it's not doing a lot for the moisture at that point, but the UV protection is also cleaning the air a little bit better. So the airflow and everything in there is the temperature, everything is a lot drier and more
And it will
tenable
be.
down there. So I did talk to Dave personally about it because the other concern was this is a lot of stairs to get to here. In that area, that little area, the only ventilation they have in that little office is somebody cut a 4-inch vent hole in the door. But that was a concern up there. But the ability to renovate the space would be relatively, I don't want to use the term easy. It's not going to be easy, but there's not a lot of, so all that paneling, we went through when we looked at all that paneling. So all that paneling is over exterior brick wall. There's no insulation in there. It's just paneling. It's going to be, it ripped right off, come right off, and then be able to expose the brick. And we'll just expose the brick and keep the brick the way it is. There's no need to sheetrock that. It's a nice look on the exterior wall. The interior wall, I actually talked to the brick mason as well, because he was looking, I had him looking at the columns to make sure that, there were some areas that were probably going to need some repouring on the columns to be safer with everything. But he had an idea. They make a 6-inch block that we could do between the columns running in the other direction that actually has electrical outlet drops that you can run right through the block. And he has a white stucco smear that you can just put over the outside of it. It's all white when it dries. You don't have to paint it. I don't know what you call it, but whatever. That was the best term I could come up with.
Gray and white block bond.
It's
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's consolidating some of the departments downstairs and utilize that area. And like you said, for IT to be down there makes sense. I would just like the others like to see some sort of a projection of cost.
Yeah, what it would cost.
Yeah,
I have no issue with it. I just want to know, so when somebody asks us what's going on down there, how much is that gonna cost? We can say, well, here, this is what I was gonna
Get an idea.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. The only thing I was thinking about is, well, it might be a little easier in the basement because things are more exposed to get a solid price, but I get.
Well, I get that there's gonna be
Yeah,
some
more like we
fluctuation
did
in
with
it.
the bathroom, idea, he had a rough
Estimation.
number of, I think it was 40,000 and Ruben had made the motion to approve the renovation up to 45 and then back to the board for a report if
there
it's
was
going to exceed anything, something along those lines would.
And that would just give us a baseline to set something like that up with and say, we'll approve up to 75,000 and.
Sure.
'Cause I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it can be done tastefully
Mhm.
and I think the air quality will be better down there.
the only thing I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if.
Oh, no,
If we have to put ventilation,
Yeah.
we'll do that too.
We got a window back in there.
It can't be, I mean, we've got
Big
our
window back
servers
in.
down there, so it's gotta be somewhat dry down there. I mean, those things can't be.
No, it is,
So it's
it is.
gotta be-
And part of it too is dust control.
Right.
And you know, part of that is we've removed a lot of the old. You know, you had big steam pipes running through those parts in those areas. Those have been got out. Those are all done. Everything's cleaned up. And we can put a new drop ceiling in, which will keep things a lot, you know, tighter.
Bring us back some numbers and we'll go from there.
And there'll be doors separating from where the overhead door area is and the stair.
Oh, yeah, everything will be
That can be
closed off
sectioned off.
from that one. It's not gonna be closed off, but there's gonna be that steel fire door. So it's a clear distinction before you walk in too. All right, that's all I got.
Minutes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
the minutes of December 5th.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Abstain.
Oh, yep. Oh,
I was not there.
all right, actually, I think you were on the fifth, Paul. I think it was the 19th you weren't here. Right,
The fifth, I was not here.
the fifth, okay, so the 19th, all right. Sorry about that. All right, so that's good, except for Paul. Approval, December 19th, public session. Any motion,
So move.
second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, yep. I don't think we have a consent agenda. I didn't see one.
Nope.
No consent agenda. Discretionary action on requests for appointments. John Del Signor, Community Power Program. What's the wishes of the board on that?
I save us a lot of money. Well,
Yeah, I don't know. Do we want
Program that offers residents. It's worth listening to.
to, yep, do we want to give them a time or?
He's asking for
He's asking
15
for
minutes.
15.
Okay,
Let's give him 15 minutes.
board okay with that?
Sure.
All right,
No problem.
can I get a motion? All right,
I'll make a motion to approve the John Del Senior Community Power Program to have a 15-minute session with the Board of Selectmen.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. No public input, no non-public session tonight?
No.
All right, anybody want to take the next motion?
No, we'll let you.
Yeah, all right, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, gentlemen,
All right.
Thank you.
nice work. Autograph these and be done with them.